Starting us off at number 10 is Valkyrie Drive Bikuni. So this game was developed by Meteorize for the PlayStation Vita and was first released in Japan in 2015 and then worldwide a year later. The game focuses on the island of Bikini, in which all the girls are infected with the VR virus. The only way to cure the virus is to fight over and over again so they can control their abilities. And there's two types of girls: X-Stars, who can transform themselves into weapons when they're sexually aroused, and Liberators, who can wield these X-Stars when they're in their weapon form. The gameplay has two phases, the adventure parts and the action parts, and during the fighting sequences, the girls work in pairs to defeat enemies, and sometimes doing strong special moves can tear off the clothes of your partner or your enemy. I don't know how that helps, but I guess it's just part of the game. The drive part of the game is when both girls combine forces during weaponization, so a sexy curtain will appear and then they touch each other explicitly for a bit, and then boom, weaponization. There's even a boob ranking system in the game, but let's just not get into that. You can also grope and undress other girls in the dressing room if you want to. I don't know how that's gonna help you in the game, but if you want to, go ahead. The game ended up getting banned in many countries like Iran, Pakistan, China, Russia, Germany, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and New Zealand for glorifying sexuality, homosexuality, just all around sexual content involving minors, and promoting immoral values. That was a very long list. They also weren't happy with the fact that two main characters, sisters Ranka and Rinka, have an incestuous relationship of sorts. I mean, so you know, I kinda get where they're coming from there. Coming in at number 9 is Wolfenstein 3D. So Wolfenstein itself is a World War II themed series, and it's actually sort of a legendary because it really helped popularize first-person shooting games, even though now that's basically the norm. People have gone as far as to say COD wouldn't have even existed had this game not come out, which is a big statement. Now Wolfenstein 3D was the third game in the series, and it was released in 1992, and honestly the game is pretty simple. You play as an allied spy and you have to escape Castle Wolfenstein. Many of the games are banned in Germany for obvious reasons, mainly the Nazi references and high impact gory violence, and the 8th game in the series was also banned in the UAE for interactive sex scenes. I just love how this is a series focused on World War II. Like, there's so much content you could put in these games, yet they found the time and somehow managed to include an interactive sex scene. It was a necessity, clearly. At number 8 we have the Dead Island series. Dead Island is a survival horror role-playing game developed by Techland, and it was released back in 2011. You can play it multiplayer or alone, and the game centers around a zombie-filled open world, and there are 4 playable characters to choose from, and the aim of the game is to escape the island of Banoi that you're on. You know, surrounded by zombies and all. Definitely would not like to be on a zombie-infested island, thank you. Most of the game is about combat and finishing your quests. You can earn XP when doing so, and then level up. The first half of the game only has melee weapons for you to use, but the second half has some firearms, but either way the weapons are displaced all over the world and are randomly generated. Some zombies are stronger than others, some have special abilities, so you have to look out for everything and make sure your stamina bar doesn't deplete, otherwise you're basically dead. The game was banned in Germany, Japan, and the UAE for extreme depictions of high impact gory violence and scantily clad characters. There is also controversy around the Perna character, who has an unlockable skill dubbed Gender Wars, which lets her do more damage to male opponents. Now during development she was called the Feminist Whore, and although it was edited out for the final release, you can still find it in debug code on the computer version of the game. Filling our number 7 slot is Death Race. Now how many games on this list start with death? I'm not really sure. But anyway, this is a major throwback because it's actually a 1976 arcade game. It was released by Exidy that year, and it was basically a modified version of the game Destruction Derby. The point of the game is pretty simple. It can be single player or 2 player, and the whole screen's black and white, and you drive a car. I mean, if you can call that pixelated blob a car, and the point is to run over the gremlins that are also on the screen. Even though the gremlins basically just look like people, but they're just called gremlins, probably just, you know, to be an easier pill to swallow. But when you manage to successfully hit one, it lets out an eerie scream and a cross tombstone appears. That makes it harder because the tombstones remain as obstacles whilst the player still has to hit more gremlins. AKA, it's a drive driving game whose point is to kill pedestrians, gremlins. The game was insanely popular for an arcade game. It was showing up in bars, restaurants, arcades, amusement parks. It was anywhere you'd find arcade games. The game was only meant to be an interim product until Exidy released their actual car game the next year, but reporter Wendy Walker published a very popular article talking about how the game's violent content could affect those playing it. After many complaints, amusement parks started removing it from their arcades. Arcade or restaurant owners just simply stopped renting the Death Race cabinet, but that just wasn't a big deal for Exidy. They just kept moving their cabinets from state to state wherever there just wasn't much controversy about the game, which I mean, kudos to you for trying to keep it alive. By the next year, the game was no longer in the headlines, but I can't tell whether that was because people stopped caring or because the game basically got banned in all of America. Also, can we just take a second to talk about how this game was branded as making players more violent when it's literally just pixelated blobs? We really had no idea of what was to come, did we? Now at number 6 is Left 4 Dead 2. So Left 4 Dead 2 is a first-person shooter game developed by Valve Corporation, and it was released back in 2009. The game builds on its predecessor and is set in a post-zombie apocalyptic world, but the zombies are very much still there. This one follows a new group of 4 survivors going against the infected around them. You go through 5 campaigns, you find safe houses, try to keep each other alive. It pretty much sounds like a spin-off video game of The Walking Dead, if I'm honest. Weapons are separated into tiers, and each survivor can only carry one weapon from each tier. If you're close to dying, you have to fend all the infected off with a handgun until someone helps revive you, aka you'll probably just die. Now the game's version of the city of New Orleans garnered a lot of controversy because the city was filled with dead, bloated bodies, and so people thought it was insensitive to depict that when Hurricane Katrina only happened a few years prior and the place that was most badly hit was New Orleans. On top of that, the game was accused of being racist because most of the infected appeared to be African Americans, whereas others argued back, saying that just reflected the racial demographic of New Orleans. The game ended up getting banned in Australia and Germany due to very realistic, unrelenting violence, and Valve then submitted a modified version removing any images of piles of dead bodies, decapitations, dismemberment, or wound details, and that one was actually approved. But if you're anywhere else in the world, you have full access to all the gore that Germany and Australia are missing out on, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Coming in at number 5 is EA Sports MMA. So from the title you can most likely guess that EA Sports MMA is a mixed martial arts fighting game. It was released at the end of 2010 by EA Sports for the PS3 and Xbox 360. The gameplay is pretty straightforward. You attack your enemy in the ring as you see fit. You can fight the orthodox way or southpaw, it's really up to you. The venues change. It even has a live broadcast feature where you can upload your games, and people actually got real life prizes for it. If you've ever watched an MMA fight on TV, you know how brutal they can be, and yes, Conor McGregor, I'm definitely talking to you. So it isn't really a huge surprise that the game ended up getting banned in Denmark. But funnily enough, it wasn't banned because of the violence in the game, it was banned because of all the energy drink advertisements within the game. Rockstar energy drink is pretty much plastered everywhere in the game, and there's a law in Denmark that prohibits any marketing for energy drinks, and therefore the game was banned. Unlucky Denmark. At number 4 is the Call of Duty series. Okay, everyone just put their hand up if they played COD, guilty as charged. I used to play Black Ops and I just used to camp in Nuketown and just shoot people from the upstairs window when I got lazy. And don't even get me started on zombies because that gave me major stress. Let's not talk about it. But anyway, COD is a first-person shooter franchise which first came out and took the world by storm in 2003. The first few games focused on World War II, but later games focused on other conflicts like the Cold War, outer space conflict, etc. With most, if not all the games, there are campaigns you play, which is like basically the story mode, but you can also play in maps online against other people, in maps offline with your friends against bots. It's actually a really fun game, I'm not gonna lie, and excluding being fun, the game is hella successful. They've made over $15 billion. By 2016, they sold over 250 million copies. But with great success does come great conflict. Black Ops nearly got banned in Cuba for including a mission where you have to kill Fidel Castro. Germany has banned 4 games in the franchise. Black Ops was banned in Japan. COD 4 Modern Warfare was banned in Saudi Arabia and the UAE for having quotes from the Quran, which was deemed offensive, and some were even banned in Russia for having a storyline where Russian ultra-nationalists take over Russia and then invade the US. All in all, many countries have found issues with COD, and that's all that really matters for this list. Filling our number 3 slot is the Saints Row series. Saints Row is a series of action-adventure games created by Volition, first released in 2006. The game focuses on a gang called the 3rd Street Saints, and the gameplay is in an open world and it features non-linear gameplay and racing sequences as well. The aim of the game is to lead the gang and overtake their rival gang in a turf war. Basically, that's the game. And the game is also known for its comedic shock value. So far, it just really doesn't sound too problematic, does it? It's also kind of like GTA in the sense you can kill whoever you want on the street, but then the police will be after you, and if you die, then you just respawn at the nearest hospital. Okay, it's not just like GTA. People even called it a GTA clone, but without any social commentary. Harsh and savage. The third game in particular caused a lot of controversy because it had missions like Trojan whores and set pieces called things like Stick It In and Tits and Grits. They even went as far as to make a sex trafficking related mission to try and find humor in it, and that was, as you can imagine, not well received. But the thing that people didn't understand is the giant purple dildo weapon you could use to beat people to death, and its sequel had a similar weapon called the alien anal probe. You basically find someone, shove it up there, press a button, and then that person is launched into the air. That's about it. And some things people just didn't know how to explain or defend. I mean, in one chase sequence, you're in a chariot which is being pulled around by a man in a dominatrix outfit while the gang behind you are in their own dominatrix powered chariots, and it's just weird. I just don't know how you could say that's art in any way. In the end, the games were banned in Germany and the UAE for many reasons like excessive violence, sexual themes, high impact violence, and probably the dildos. Now at number 2 is Baby Shaker. Now this one isn't a console game, it's a phone game, but this list doesn't discriminate. Games are games, so why not include an Apple Store game? How many times have I said game? Anyway, half the world have iPhones, they probably have a bigger reach than a lot of gaming consoles anyway, so gotta love the 21st century. But anyway, Baby Shaker was a game made by Soft that came out for the iPhone back in 2009. The game cost 99 cents and it showed a black and white drawing of a crying baby, and you can hear the cries. Very tech savvy. And underneath the drawing, this paragraph was written: on a plane, on the bus, in the theater, babies are everywhere you don't want them to be. They're always distracting you from preparing for that big presentation at work with their incessant crying. For Baby Shaker, there was nothing you could do about it. See how long you can endure his or her adorable cries before you just have to find a way to quiet the baby down. The point of the game is to see how long you can stand the baby crying before you can't take it anymore, then at which point you start shaking your phone to quiet down the baby. Shaking your phone actually just kills the baby. You figure that out when 2 large red X's appear over the baby's eyes and the crying stops. It was in the Apple Store for a total of 3 days before Apple took it down. But even 3 days is enough to reach the masses. Complaints started filing into Steve Jobs or the executives for not properly screening such an awful game. Ironically, the App Store has been criticized in the past for being too strict to the point they'd ban games that had farting noises in them. Yet this one just flew under the radar. Either way, it got banned within 3 days, and I highly doubt you can find the game anywhere now as it's been 10 years, and I'm pretty sure at least one person in every country in the world except Antarctica has an iPhone, so I guess you could say the game was banned worldwide. And finally, at number 1 is Mortal Kombat. I didn't want to put this one on the list, it physically hurts me, but I had to. If you live under a rock and don't know what Mortal Kombat is, it's a fighting game franchise with the first one having been released in 1992. This game is iconic. There are so many sequels to the game, spin-offs, TV shows, a comic book series, and even a live action tour. It's one of the most successful fighting games in video game history and is also one of the highest grossing. So how did it end up on this list, and how did it end up as number 1? As a fighting game, there are special moves that each character has. Fatalities are gruesome, and they've only gotten more gruesome and more HD as the games have progressed. Fatalities, if you don't know, are a player's finishing move on their opponent. One character called Kano literally has a move where he can rip your heart out, just to give you a small example. When it first came out, even Nintendo didn't release it because of the blood and the gore. It was one of the first few games psychologists tested on whether video games made players more violent in real life or not. A study done in 2000 claimed that the video did, and it was backed up by the Columbine High School massacre that happened a year prior, where 2 teens killed 13 people and injured 24. The 2 perpetrators played the game obsessively, and Bill Clinton himself said it's games like Mortal Kombat that makes kids more active in simulated violence. The game series ended up getting banned in South Korea, Japan, Germany, Malaysia, Brazil, and Australia for a variety of reasons, namely high impact gory violence for no reason other than entertainment. But isn't that just most games these days anyway? Starting us off with number 10 is Thrill Kill. Now this game was developed by Paradox Development for the PlayStation, and it was meant to be released in 1998, but its release ended up getting cancelled altogether. Thrill Kill was a very hyped up game. Gamers were even calling coining it the next Mortal Kombat, which is a very big statement to make. Now what happened was that EA had acquired Virgin Interactive, who was going to publish the game, and weeks before its release EA decided to cancel it because they didn't want to publish such a senselessly violent game. Either way, the cancellation didn't stop former employees from releasing the game in the group Tasty. Thrill Kill ended up becoming one of the most widely available unreleased games ever developed. The game itself involves a room where 4 people fight to the death and then end the fight with a thrill kill, which pretty much sounds like half the fighting games on the market right now, but whatever. The more attacks your player makes, the higher their bloodlust rises, and once it's full they become electrocuted and endowed with superhuman strength, and they can finally perform the thrill kill. Now the game sounds like any normal combative game, but the game included sexual content like fetishistic and BDSM looking costumes, and players had special moves with unnecessarily provocative names like Swallow This and Slap. Coming in at number 9, we have Pokemon. No Pikachu, I choose you? What do you mean? And Eamon, what do you mean Pokemon is on this list? I play it all the time. Hold on people, hold on, let's just relax for a quick second. Pokemon, Pokemon Go, and the TCG and most of its predecessors are banned in Saudi Arabia. Back in 2001, the Mufti, which is the highest religious authority in the country, banned the game, claiming it promoted gambling with children because sometimes they had to pay money in exchange for the cards, and it promoted Zionism. The religious edict stated the energy cards had symbols on them that resemble the Star of David, which is the national emblem of Israel. The country's senior cleric Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Abdullah said most cards have symbols like triangles, significant for Freemasons, and crosses sacred for Christians. But Saudi Arabia is not alone. Some organizations in Slovakia say that TV shows based on the game are detrimental to children, and a Christian church in Mexico even deemed the game demonic. Now what do you guys think? I've played Pokemon Go, I really like it. I'm not opposed to the games, I know a lot of people aren't, but what are your thoughts? At number 8 now is Omega Labyrinth Z. Now this is a sequel to Omega Labyrinth, which is a dungeon crawler role-playing game published by D3 Publisher for the PlayStation Vita. The original follows a group of girls exploring a dungeon looking for the holy grail of beauty, which can grant the finder any wish they want. Wouldn't we all want one of those? The main girl, Aina Akemya, wants to find the grail in order to increase her breast size. The sequel, Omega Labyrinth Z, was released in Japan back in 2017 for the PS4 and the PlayStation Vita. The original group of girls are in the sequel, as well as some new characters, and in this one they're exploring a cave at a girls' academy. It was originally going to be released in the West at the start of 2018, but it was refused classification in Australia and the UK. Then mid-year P-Cube announced the game's Western version had been cancelled since Sony Europe and Sony America had blocked its release. Many scenes were deemed problematic because they involved sexual stimulation of the young characters and undressing them as well. During some mini-games, the player has to touch points on the girls' bodies to arouse them, and if they succeed, they activate a shame break where parts of their clothing starts coming off. In another minigame, the player puts honey on the girls' bodies, whereafter a dog-like creature of some kind has to lick the honey off their bodies while they respond with sexualized language. And again, their clothing comes off too. I don't know how this part aids the girls in finding what they're looking for, but sure. Filling our number 7 slot, we have Bully, or as it's known in the European market, Dog Eat Dog. Now this game was published by Rockstar Games for the PS2 way back in 2006, which honestly seems like a lifetime ago. The story is set in the town of Bulworth, and you're a student who's trying to rise in the social ranks at school. I feel like that sounds like any school in real life, but anyway, like GTA, you're free to roam the town as you please. You play as a character of Jimmy, who goes to Bulworth Academy and soon realizes the school is filled to the brim with bullies. The game initially caused a lot of controversy amongst educators and parents who thought the game was glorifying school bullying. Yahoo Games even listed it on their list of top 10 most controversial games of all time. The game was flat out banned in Brazil, their state psychology society claiming it would be harmful to teens and adults playing it. Currys and PC World, both owned by Dixon's Retail, one of the biggest electronic retailers in the UK, also refused to sell the game, saying it didn't go with their family-friendly image. image. Organizations like Bullies to Buddies argue the game is more to do with uniting groups of students rather than being a bully. What do you guys think? Should it be banned or not banned? Now at number 6 is Command & Conquer Generals. Now this series of PC games is pretty well known. This one is the 7th installment in the series and it was released back in 2003 by EA Games and Aspire Media. Now in the game's campaign mode you can choose to play as China, as the US, or for the Global Liberation Army, which is a decentralized terrorist force waging a guerrilla war against China and the US. At the beginning of the game, the GLA steal a nuclear warhead and actually blow up a big part of Beijing and Tiananmen Square, and if that's not bad enough, later on in the game the group also destroys the Three Gorges Dam. And obviously you can probably guess none of this went down well over in China, and so they banned not only this installment of the series but the whole series altogether. The game also created controversy in Germany. The Federal Department for Media Harmful to Young People put the game on the list of media harmful to young people, any advertisements of the game, and banned people under the age of 18 from buying it. Back then the Iraq War had not yet taken place, so the Federal Department said it allowed people to play in the war in Iraq before it had even happened. EA then released a localized version which didn't include any real countries or any relation to terrorism whatsoever. Have any of you guys played this game? Should it have been banned? Let me know. Coming in at number 5 is Mad World. Mad World is a beat 'em up hack and slash video game published by Sega for the Wii and was released back in 2009 and had a delayed release in Japan a year later. The game is divided into different levels, all representing various parts of Jefferson Island, which has basically been converted into the set of a game show called Death Watch. You control the character of Jack from a third-person perspective, and you have to go through the levels by killing people and gaining points. Once you gain enough points within a certain time limit, then you're faced with the boss fight, as you are in pretty much every fighting game. Every level has a bloodbath challenge where you kill people in a very bloody way, like trapping enemies in front of a moving train or hitting enemies with a bat onto a giant dartboard in order to score points. Many people didn't agree with the message of the game, and that being blood sports, and the game was banned in Germany. The UK also had a lot of media watchdogs calling for the ban of the game. The director of Media Watch UK stated, "We have to ensure that modern and civilized values take priority rather than killing and maiming people." Despite his efforts, the game got a mature rating instead and was not banned at all. Campaigners in the US were also angered by the game and asked for a ban, claiming they were disappointed that the Wii was releasing a game like this that seemed to deliver every rude gesture in the book. At number 4 is Football Manager 2005. I know you're probably thinking, okay, this is a football game. There's definitely no risk of violence or underage nudity or anything like that, so how on earth and why on earth is this game on this list? Let's find out. Now, Football Manager 2005 was the first game in the Football Manager series, developed by Sports Interactive and published by Sega back at the end of 2004. As the title suggests, the game lets you manage a football club, including all the admin stuff that comes with it, like analyzing financial spreadsheets, reading emails, dealing with player training, etc. However, the game actually got banned completely in China because the game lists Tibet and Taiwan as separate independent countries. If you're not familiar with why that would be an issue, it's because of the One China policy and China exerting sovereignty over Tibet and Taiwan and claiming both places are under China's rule and jurisdiction and are not independent countries at all. Hence, China banned the game, claiming its content is harmful to China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, which seriously violates Chinese law and has been strongly protested by our nation's gamers. That was a direct quote. Sports Interactive replied by saying that version of the game wasn't released in Chinese because it wasn't meant to be released in China, so the versions people were playing were imported or downloaded. People can be fined up to $3,600 if they're caught selling the game, and business licenses could also be revoked. They even went as far as to say internet service providers who failed to prevent the installation or download of the game could also be shut down for good. Filling our number 3 slot is Carmageddon. Smart pun for the name, just throwing it out there. But anyway, the game is a vehicular combat PC game released in 1997. As you can probably guess from the title, the game involves you racing against a bunch of other computer-controlled cars in various places, whether that means metropolitan areas or industrial ones. You have a time limit in which you have to finish each race, but you can increase your time limit by damaging damaging other people's cars or running people over, or even hitting cows in your way. Poor cows. There are 3 ways to finish each level. 1, you can finish it normally just by racing and finishing it. 2, you can kill all the pedestrians in the level and finish the race. Or 3, you can wreck all the other cars in the race and then finish. The choice is yours. But when the game was released, it was quite censored in the UK and Germany, and their version of the game had zombies in it that had green blood, or robots that got run over because that was more acceptable than running over real people. Now, the British Board of Film Classification actually refused to even certify the game unless all the gore and blood was removed, but eventually, after 10 months of appeal, the BBFC certified the original. The game is still banned in Brazil, and it's deemed as 18+ in places like Portugal and Australia. Personally, I think this one is really quite harmless. I feel like there are so many games worse than this, but what do you guys think? Agree? Disagree? Let me know. Now at number 2 is KZ Manager Millennium Hamburg Edition. Now this is a resource management PC game that puts you as the manager or commandant of a Nazi concentration camp. I know, very problematic. Now the resources you have to manage are money, equipment, prisoners, poison, public opinion on the productivity of the camp, and gas supplies. Your goal is to keep the camp functioning by keeping all the resources under control. If you spend too much money and don't kill enough people, then public satisfaction drops. Germany banned it for obvious reasons, and it even won the most unnecessary Game of the Year award in the 2001 IGN Awards. I found that really funny, the fact that there's an award for most unnecessary game. Like, that's hilarious. And finally, at number 1 is Rule of Rose. That's quite a lovely name, I'm not gonna lie, but was the game as lovely? Let's find out. Released in Japan by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PS2 in 2006, Rule of Rose was a survival psychological horror game set in England in the 1930s. The game revolves around a 19-year-old called Jennifer who ends up getting trapped in a universe ruled by young girls who've created a hierarchy called the Red Crayon Aristocrats. She has to navigate the world with her canine sidekick Brown while encountering enemies and using tools around her to fight them off. Most of these enemies are very small imps. Before the game was even released, it caused moral panic in Europe based on rumors causing authorities to want to ban the game. The game was cancelled in the UK and was set for an American release, but then Sony also passed on the release, saying they wanted the game to be tamer. Rumors were circulating about the game, citing the fact it had violence towards children in it, like them being buried alive, underage eroticism, and in-game sadomasochism. The EU Justice Minister at the time, Franco Frattini, went after the game, claiming it had obscene brutality and cruelty. Its release was also cancelled in Australia and New Zealand. Developers of the game called Frattini's claims utter nonsense and frankly made up, saying there's no children being buried or eroticism in the game. Starting us off with number 10 is Rape Play, and I wish I could say the game isn't as bad as its title or sugarcoat it in any way possible, but I really can't. Rape Play was a 3D erotic game made by the Japanese company Illusion and was released in 2006. The game is single player and the story is quite short and quite horrendous. You play as the main male character, Masaya Kimura, who basically gets arrested for groping a woman on the train. He then decides to stalk that girl who reported him and her sister and mother and rapes all 3 of them. There are 2 possible endings to the game, but thankfully both result in Masaya dying. Surprisingly, this game wasn't banned straight away, but 3 years after its release, a member of British Parliament got the game banned and got Amazon to remove it from its website. And I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory as to why, because it promotes this violent behavior, so let's just move on to the next one. Coming in at number 9 is Manhunt 2. Released by renowned developer of controversial games Rockstar Games, released a sequel psychological horror stealth video game back in 2007. The game follows Daniel Lamb, a mental patient who suffers from amnesia, while trying to uncover who he really is, and Leo Casper, who's a sociopathic assassin. The game focuses on stealth attacks, which usually come in the form of attacking the person from behind undetected, and there are 3 levels of execution, each more gruesome than the previous one. The sequel includes using firearms for executions and using objects around the player like telephones or toilets to also execute the victim. In the first one, you could also even suffocate your victims with a plastic bag. Despite this game ranking number 1 in the Gamer Angst's list of top 25 goriest games of all time, this game had mixed to positive reviews. However, the game was just deemed as way too gory. It was refused classification in the UK, and even after Rockstar went back and added some filters to the gore, like removing all but 2 decapitations, and the game that's an improvement, I guess. It still ended up being banned from sale in South Korea, Germany, Ireland, Kuwait, New Zealand, and Saudi Arabia. Seeing the screenshots of this game, it really is gore to the max, and I'm not one that's really disgusted by gore, but it's a lot. At number 8 now, we have Grand Theft Auto. Now, I've played GTA 5 and San Andreas, the latter being my favorite, and it's funny because growing up my sister used to mute the game so I couldn't hear the characters swearing while I played. And I know you can do bad stuff in the game, but I didn't realize it was banned in so many countries. If you haven't played it, GTA has you playing as the main character and you complete missions and achieve your objectives in the story. But when you're not playing the story, you're free to roam around the world you're in, free to run over people if you want, fight with whoever you want, just you name it, you can do it in GTA. The game does have a lot of violence in it, as well as general mayhem and sexual content. Way back in 2008, a man called Paul Wachino was riding in a cab in Bangkok, and when it was time to pay the cab driver, he stabbed him to death, citing GTA, saying killing seemed easy in the game. The game was banned in Thailand after that. Different components of the series are also banned in Brazil, China, Japan, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and the UAE. Filling our number 7 slot is Standoff. Originally titled Active Shooter, already problematic, the first-person shooter game was developed by Russian game developer Anton Makarevsky and was originally set for release in 2018. The plot of the game is pretty simple. The setting is a school shooting, and you can either take the role of the active shooter or a SWAT team member responding to an SOS about the event. As the player, you can choose whichever weapon you'd like knives, guns, grenades, etc., and your death toll of police and civilians is tallied live on your screen. I feel like this is such a horrendous idea. I don't know why Anton even thought this would be a good premise for a video game, but anyway, this game obviously attracted a lot of controversy. Parents of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting victims got 100,000 signatures while petitioning against it. The game was cancelled and the platform was removed from Steam as well, and good riddance. Now at number 6 is Gal Gun Double Peace. Now this game is a rail shooter Bishoko game developed by Inti Creates, and it was released in Japan in 2015 and worldwide the following year. And it's a sequel to the original Gal Gun released in 2011, and the game is set at an academy in Japan and basically follows an unpopular male student called Hude Kudoki. A student Cupid, I know that doesn't make sense but go with it, hits Hude with 32 times the original intended amount, and then soon after the whole school is in love with him. So much so they start hurting him in a way involving bondage, you could say. The game follows him shooting his female classmates with pheromone shots while he desperately tries to find his true love girlfriend before sunset, because if he doesn't, he'll face a lifetime alone. The game has been banned in countries like New Zealand and the UAE for supporting and promoting the exploitation of children and the use of coercion and force during sexual conduct. Coming in at number 5 is Postal 2 or Postal Squared. This is a black comedy shooter video game released by Running with Scissors back in 2003. Black comedy basically just means jokes about things that are taboo like death, mental illness, sexuality, discrimination, racism, etc. The game follows Postal Dude going through the week, and each day he has a bunch of mundane tasks he has to do, like buy milk, do groceries, etc. As the player, you can do these tasks peacefully, or you can choose to do them as violently as you want. The choice is yours. Throughout the game, you're provoked by basically everyone in the game almost all the time. A year after its release, the Office of Film and Literature Classification banned the game in New Zealand for excessive levels of violence as well as animal abuse. And that's not even the worst the game has to offer. This game is interesting because it's hard to sort of ban or hate it because it really only gets as bad as you let it get. You can finish the game harming no one, or you can finish it while killing everyone. At number 4 now is Hatred. Now this game is an isometric shoot 'em up video game released by Destructive Creations in 2015. This game follows the main character who's a misanthropic mass killer who's on a genocide crusade mission trying to kill as many people as he can. For what reason? There is none. Its trailer release alone back in 2014 had already garnered a lot of controversy, and by the time it was released it got severely negative reviews. The game pretty much has no message or moral whatsoever other than a slew of endless violence, and I don't get why someone would create a game full of that much death and destruction just because. Some of the pictures I saw of this game are so graphic and dark, I was just thinking to myself, I don't know who would play this happily. I mean, you're talking genocide for fun, like that isn't a joke. The game was removed by Valve Corporation from their Steam Greenlight service for a while, but was brought back and re-released. For what reason, I have no idea. Filling our number 3 slot is Custer's Revenge. Now this game is old. I'm talking released in 1982 by Atari, 2600 old. This game is an adult video game with the main character being General George Armstrong Custer, who is famous for being a commander in the American Civil War and for his colossal defeat at the Battle of Little Bighorn. The player of the game controls Custer wearing absolutely nothing but a cavalry hat, a bandana, and boots with a very noticeable erection. Your obstacles in the game are arrows being thrown at you, and your aim is to avoid the arrows and reach the other side of the screen so you can have sex with a Native American woman tied to a pole. Yeah, you heard that right. The original game was packaged as not for sale to minors, and it sparked a lot of controversy, and rightfully so. Anti-sex feminist Andrea Dworkin even claimed it physically generated a lot of gang rapes of Native American women. There's no empirical data to back up her claim, but many cities really wanted to ban the game, but only one actually ended up doing it. Shout out to you, Oklahoma City. Now at number 2 is the Guy game, and from the title you can maybe see where this game is headed. Maybe. The Guy game was an adult video game made by Top Heavy Studios, and it was actually the first and last game they ever released. It was released in 2004 and follows a trivia game show style with 4 people being able to play at once. The game has 20 episodes altogether and features a total of 1,000 questions. Now you're probably sat there thinking there doesn't really seem anything wrong with this game so far. Wrong, my friend, very wrong. The game is mostly composed of live action footage of girls in bikinis, aptly named the Hotties, and if you do well in the game, then the Hotties eventually take their bikinis off and show you their boobs. There's actually a flashometer in the game, so the more correct answers you give, the higher the meter goes and the more exposed the boobs become. The game actually ended up as part of a lawsuit because one of the girls in the game wasn't told her boobs were going to be used to promote the game, and she was 17 years old when it was recorded, thus making her underage. The game was removed from the market real quick, and now it's a distant dream or nightmare. Most likely a nightmare. And finally, at number 1 is Sad Satan. Already the name is weird enough, so you can imagine what's about to follow. This was a PC game published by ZK and was downloaded to the Tor network via a deep web internet forum by an unknown developer back in 2015. I say back like it was ages ago when it was really only 4 years ago, but the name of the game is alluding to the Led Zeppelin song Stairway to Heaven, which apparently if you play backwards you can hear satanic lyrics. This was the last game featured on the YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner before the channel stopped operating for unknown reasons. Some people say the person behind the channel is the real developer of the Sad Satan game, and it was all just a publicity stunt. The game basically features you walking down a bunch of monochromatic hallways and hearing audio tapes that keep looping over and over again. The selection of audio tapes is of course creepy as hell, interviews from murderer Charles Manson, as well as distorted audios of other tapes. It also shows pictures of murder victims, people being beheaded, and people being hit by vehicles. Other than the main player, the only other characters in the game are children that stand and do not interact with you or move at all. An updated version of the game was uploaded by someone claiming to be ZK, but that was actually a virus and people's computers started slowing down considerably or straight up not working at all.
Starting off this countdown, we have Bloody Mary. I wish I was talking about the cocktail here, but I'm not. Now, I feel like most of you have heard of this game. It was super popular when I was a kid, and I played it lots, so I'm surprised I'm not cursed. Anyways, there are a number of different ways to play the game, but the most common one is to go into a dark bathroom, look into the mirror, and chant Bloody Mary 3 times. Some say you must surround yourself by candles. Others claim you have to spin around while saying her name. Or you have to say, Bloody Mary, I believe in you. This supposedly summons Bloody Mary, and if it works, she will reach out of the mirror and scratch you, or grab you and pull you back into the mirror with her. Apparently, Bloody Mary is described as a rotting skeleton-looking woman, with long sharp nails, rotting flesh, and matted, dirty, and bloody hair. Some say she's eyeless. Others say she wears the eyes of her past victims. Either way, not a game I ever want to play again. In our ninth spot, we have the Devil's Face. This is the game for you if you have ever wanted to see what the devil looks like. Basically, it's simple. Go to your bathroom at night right before midnight. Stand in front of the dark mirror and close your eyes. When the clock strikes midnight, open your eyes and stare into the mirror. You should see the devil staring right back at you. Yeah! Like, get it? Like you're the devil? In our eighth spot, we have Charlie Charlie. This game seems simple enough. Get a piece of paper, draw a grid on it so that there are 4 different sections, and write yes and no in the boxes. Then take 2 pencils and balance one on top of the other. Start the game by saying, Charlie, Charlie, are you here? If he is, the pencils will move and it should point to yes. Then you can start to ask him yes or no questions. Now, who exactly is this Charlie boy? Well, it ain't Charlie Brown, that's for sure. Now, there are a number of versions. One claims he's a demon from Mexico. Others say he's the ghost of someone who took their own life, or the ghost of someone that died in a tragic accident. Either way, I'm not trying to contact nobody from the afterlife. No, thank you. Especially because Charlie has sinister intentions. Now guys, before I go any further, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. You know the drill, because it really helps us out. Moving on to number 7, we have the Closet Game. This game, if done correctly, will summon a demon into your own home. Again, why is this considered a game? What's scary is that this game is fairly easy. Yeah, it's easy to summon demons. Great. Anyways, all you have to do is stand in your closet in the night with an unlit match. Then out loud you have to say, oh, I don't even want to say it. Show me the light or leave me in the darkness. Once you hear a faint whisper, light up the match. Oh, I'm getting shivers. Ugh. If you don't, you will be dragged off into the darkness. If you light it in time, you're safe from this demon. But now, you've invited it to live in your closet. And you always have to shut the closet door every night before bed. And you can never look inside the closet without a light on. Moving on to number 6, we have the Elevator Game. I think this one has to be one of the scariest games on this list. And I don't know why it's considered a game. Like, it's not fun, and it can cause death or possession. The Elevator Game is said to be one of the world's most dangerous games. Now, there are a bunch of rules you have to follow. When done correctly, you can visit another world. Basically, you have to be in an elevator that has at least 10 floors. When you're in the elevator, you have to press the floor buttons in a specific order. I ain't telling you because you guys aren't playing this game. After doing so, you press the 5th floor and a woman will enter the elevator with you. This woman is not alive, and it is deadly if you look or talk to her. Then you're supposed to go to the 10th floor, which will bring you to another dimension. The other world is identical to ours, but with slight differences. Like maybe the lights will be off and electronics won't work. And you can encounter ghosts. Now there are reports of people who have played this game. Some have said that they ended up looking at this woman and now she haunts them. Others claim that some sort of entity has followed them home. Seriously, do not try this game whatever you do. You might get trapped in another world and not be able to get back. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the 3 Kings. For this game, you need a large empty room without windows, candles, a bucket of water, and a mug, a fan, 2 large mirrors, 3 chairs, an alarm clock, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, the steps for this to work are pretty elaborate. To play this game, you need to set up the mirrors facing each other with a chair in the middle. The chair is your throne. You're the king. The other chairs are the queen and the fool. The game starts at 3:30 a.m. You gotta sit in the chair with the lit candles and stare into the darkness. Basically, if you follow all the steps, you will transport your consciousness from this dimension into another. Some have said that they have seen other versions of themselves. Others have said they have gotten answers to their burning questions. Again, if done wrong, this could go very badly. In our 4th spot, we have One Man Hide and Seek. Ever want to play hide and seek by yourself? No. Just no. This game is said to summon the dead. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Basically, for this game, you call upon a spirit and present it with a doll that it can possess. And then you play hide and seek with this possessed doll. First off, you need to empty the doll of its stuffing and replace it with rice and one of your fingernails or a strand of hair. Then you sew the doll back up. Then you place the doll in a tub filled with water and turn the lights off. You then fill your mouth with some salt water and then go back to the bathtub. The doll should be gone. Now, have fun playing hide and seek. You need to find her while still keeping that salty water in your mouth. Oh, and you have to find the doll in the dark. complete darkness. The game ends once you have found the doll and poured the salt water from your mouth on it. Once the doll is dry, you need to burn the doll. People have reported that the game can go on for a very long time. This demon doll likes to play tricks with you. In our third spot, we have Sarah Sarita. This game is kind of close to that whole Charlie Charlie game. Apparently, with this game, you can contact the ghosts of two sisters that passed away in Mexico. Others believe that the girls are demons from hell. Rumor has it that a number of people have been placed in mental institutions after playing this game. So, maybe don't try it. But if you do, you'll need a friend to do it with you. Sit facing each other and you both have to hold a coin in your hand. Then chant together, Sarah Sarita, may we join your game. Then toss your coin. If you both get heads, it's a yes, you can join the game. If the coins land on tails, it means no, you can't join the game. If you get different sides, it means maybe, and you gotta ask again. Now, if you ask again and it tells you no, you can't play the game again, then apologize and leave the game. Now, if you did get a yes, then you are in the game and you can ask them any yes or no questions. Now, in order to leave the game, you have to say, Sarah Sarita, can I leave your game? Then you flip the coin. If you get a no, you need to keep playing until they say yes. But a lot of people have said that it's a difficult game to get out of. And if you don't end the game properly, then it could end very badly for you. And at number 2, we have Concentrate. And it's not that game, Concentration. 64. You know, what was it? I don't even remember. Anyway, I'm just wondering who came up with these games because they are truly messed up. This game apparently shows you the way you're going to die. So to play this game, you need 2 people. It starts with one person closing their eyes. The other person stands behind them and says this very creepy chant. During the chorus of this chant, the chanter will pound on the person's back with their fists. The chant itself is fairly long and creepy, so you won't catch me saying it. But when the chant is done, the chanter has to push the person forward just a little bit so they lose their balance. Then they open their eyes, and whatever color they see is the way that they're going to die. Like, blue means you're gonna drown, yellow means you'll be poisoned, orange means you'll die in a fire, brown means you'll get buried alive, so on and so on. Yeah, I'll pass. And in our number 1 spot, we have the Midnight Man. For this game, you are literally welcoming this terrifying creature known as the Midnight Man into your home. So in order to play, you need a candle, matches, salt, paper, a pen, a wooden door, and a drop of your own blood. First off, write your name on the paper with the pen and prick yourself and put your drop of blood on the paper. Then place this paper in front of the wooden door. Turn off all your lights and then light your candle. Once it's 11:59 at night, put your candle down and knock on the door 22 times. The 20-second knock must be completed when the clock strikes midnight. Then open the door, blow out your candle, and close your door. Then immediately relight your candle. You have now welcomed the Midnight Man into your home. Now you have to move through your house without getting caught by him. You have to do this until 3:33 a.m. If you stay in one place longer than a few seconds, he'll catch you. If your candle goes out and you're unable to relight it within about 15 seconds, stop what you're doing, draw a circle of salt around you, and don't move until 3:33 a.m. Now, you can't leave your house until the game has ended, and you can't turn on any lights. Not following these sets of rules can end very badly for you. Now, you can't see this man, but if he's near you, you'll feel a sense of panic and dread. You'll start to hear voices and hallucinate. Some say if he catches you, he will haunt you for the rest of your life. Others say he'll rip out your organs. So, pick one. Haunt for your rest of your life or lose your organs. Starting off this countdown, we have the picture game. This game is a way to catch a real-life ghost or demon on camera. But like most of the games on this list, if done incorrectly, you could lose your life. I say this as I'm going to tell you how to play the game, but don't. Basically, you need a bunch of crazy, willing participants. You all sit in a circle with a glass of alcohol in the middle. You also each have a mirror that you have to hold onto. The mirror has to be facing the ceiling. Then you turn off the lights and everyone closes their eyes. Then they say, I trust you. "The door is open, please come in." You chant this multiple times. Then you pass a camera around the circle. This has to be an old school flash camera, not just your phone's camera. Then everyone takes turns taking a picture with the camera. When they take the photo, they have to say, "I caught you." The camera gets passed around 3 times, so everyone should take 3 pictures each. When the game is done, if all goes well, a ghost should appear in some of the photos that you have taken. One person that played the game claims that she captured a picture of a ghost and then was haunted by it. So I really don't recommend playing this game. In our 9th spot, we have the fortune game. If you guys are liking this video so far, why don't you give it a big thumbs up, because it really helps us out. This is a Japanese game that goes by a number of different names. It's also sometimes called the Crossroads game, and I'll explain why it's called that in a second. But basically, this game, if done correctly, will tell you your fortune. All you need is a comb, something to hide your face with, and a crossroads, which is an intersection with 2 or more roads. If you didn't know, a little FYI. At night, you go to the crossroads and you stand near a corner. You then stroke the comb so that it makes a noise. And then you repeat this: "Suji ura, grant me a true response." Then you have to hide your face. Just wait and someone will approach you. But do not reveal your face to them at any time. When they approach you, you can ask for your fortune. They should tell you it. Sadly, you might not always receive the answers that you're looking for. Apparently, a number of people in Japan have taken their lives after playing this game because they received a bad fortune. So just beware. In our 8th spot, we have Dry Bones. Oh my god, it reminds me of that game Crazy Bones. Does anyone remember that game? God, throwback to the 90s. So here's a fun one. Ever wanted to play hide and seek with a demon? Well, now you can. Dry Bones is a game where you can summon a demon and then play this game with them. All you gotta do is turn off your lights, light a candle, and then go to the bathroom at exactly 12:01 a.m. You then stare at your reflection until you sense that a presence is there with you. When that happens, you say, "I acknowledge your presence. I welcome you into my home for a game of hide and seek until 3 a.m. After you say that, you run as fast as you can and hide as fast as you can, because if the demon catches you, you're basically screwed. You then have to stay hidden until 3 a.m. After 3 a.m., if you haven't been caught and you're still alive, you announce that the game is over and basically tell the demon to get out. But still, who says that this demon is even gonna listen? For all you know, this demon could now be your new forever housemate. Moving on, at number 7, we have Baby Blue. I honestly don't know who came up with this next game or why it's even a thing, because it's severely messed up. So basically, to play this game, you gotta go to the bathroom alone and turn off the lights. First off, what is it with demons in bathrooms? Why do they choose to haunt bathrooms, out of all places? Anyways, you look into the dark mirror and cradle your arms, pretending like you're holding a baby. Then you say, "Baby blue, blue baby," exactly 13 times, and it's a tongue twister. When you're done, you should feel your arms get heavy as if you're actually now holding a real baby. Then you have to flush this baby down the toilet before its mother appears in the mirror and scratches and screams at you. So, what is even the point of this game? Like, to test how fast your toilet can flush? Like, damn. Moving on to number 6, we have Candyman. If you've seen the movie Candyman, then you should already know how to play this game. But don't. Basically, you go to the bathroom and shut the door and turn off the lights. Again, we're in the bathroom here. What is up with bathrooms? You look in the mirror and you say, "Candyman" 5 times. This is said to summon him, and he will appear in your bathroom and will kill you with his hook. Now, if you have a medicine cabinet in your bathroom, then he will crawl out of the cabinet and then kill you. Again, how is this a game? Like, you don't win anything, you just end up dying a painful death. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Queen of Spades. I am sick of all these bathroom games, but here's another one. This is apparently Russia's version of Bloody Mary. So when it's nighttime, go to your bathroom and turn off all the lights and shut the door. Then take a Queen of Spades card and place her face against the mirror. From there, light a candle. Take some red lipstick and draw a set of stairs on the mirror with it. You then close your eyes and say, "Queen of Spades, come." If this works, when you open your eyes, the Queen of Spades will be there in the mirror, and you can ask her to grant you one wish. But if something goes wrong, then she will try to kill you, so then you have to quickly yell, "Queen of Spades, go away," and then erase the lipstick stairs from the mirror. Some Russian boy named Ivan played this game, and he said that at first nothing happened. Then all of a sudden he saw a black figure in the back of the mirror with bloody eyes. so don't play it. In our fourth spot, we have the Answer Man. If you've ever wanted to know the answer to all your questions, then maybe ask Google and not a demon, okay? But apparently for this game, you contact something known as the Answer Man. For this to work, you need a group of 10 people. You all stand in a circle with your phones in hand. Everyone then dials the number of the person to their left. At the same time, you all press send. Most of the phones will say that the number you called is busy, but one of you might just get the opposite. If the phone rings and the call goes through, you will be in direct communication with the Answer Man. You then can ask him questions. But there's one catch, like of course. With every question you ask, he gets to ask you one as well. You have to always answer honestly, no matter what. If he doesn't like the answer you gave him, then you are SOL. In our third spot, we have Don't Look Behind You. I'm saying that and I want to look behind me because now I'm creeped out. Here's another game where you invite a demon into your house. How fun. So basically, you light a candle and set it up behind 3 chairs. You and 2 other people then sit on those chairs. Altogether, you invite a demon to join you, but you promise them that you won't look at them. If at any point during the game you do look back behind you, the demon will attack you. Again, how is this even classified as a game? Like, it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up just thinking about it. In our second spot, we have the Ghost Paper Challenge. Yeah, not the Ghost Pepper Challenge, the Ghost Paper Challenge. It's also sometimes referred to as the Spirit of the Door game. This game lets you ask a ghost any question that you may have for them. So just before 3 a.m., turn off all the lights in your house. Go to a room and close the door and light a candle. At exactly 3 a.m., knock on the door 3 times and repeat this. Spirit of the door, I welcome you. Make yourself present and come through. Then write down on a piece of paper your question and slide it halfway under the door with a pen on top. If the paper remains where you left it, then you failed and you have to try again another time. But if the paper disappears, then you have succeeded and the ghost is writing you a message. Now you can only ask the ghost 3 questions, never any more. When you finish asking the 3 questions, thank the ghost and blow out the candle. But then you can't open your door until it's light outside. So if you have to use the bathroom, you're kind of screwed. And in our number 1 spot, we have the Dark Reflection Ritual. This one is super messed up, but if you survive, then you'll have a streak of good luck. But the cons definitely outweigh the pros. So begin by grabbing a mirror at sunset and take turns looking into the mirror. Look at your reflection and then breathe onto the glass to fog it up. By doing so, you're transferring all your bad energy onto the mirror. Pass the mirror along until everyone in your group has done this. Once it's been done, light a candle and hold it to the mirror. Then break the mirror and run for your life. Get away from the negative energy that you just released. Here's the thing, this energy will be latched to you for the rest of the night, so some bad incidents will likely happen. Slowly, these incidents will become more and more intense. If you survive through the night, then your bad luck will end and a good luck streak will begin. They recommend that you buy a lottery ticket, because that's how good your luck will be. Sounds great, right? Well, yeah, if you survive. Remember, you're going through a whole evening of bad luck. You might not even make it to the morning.
Coming in at number 10, we have One Man Hide and Seek. In Japan, this game is known as Hitoru Kakurenbo. I might have said that wrong. Let me tell you though, your stuffed toy will never be the same again. So, what you need here is a stuffed animal, but it has to have arms and legs, so think bear rather than crocodile. Also, it has to have a name. For example, Ted the Dread. Basically, you cut Ted the Dread open, remove his stuffing, replace it with rice, and then some fingernail clippings. Creepy. You then sew the bear back up, wrap it, thread it, do all of that kind of stuff, put it back together. You then put this stuffed toy in the bath and say, for the first game, I'm it. You then count to 10 with your eyes closed, then you're supposed to stab the toy and say I won. Just sounds very dramatic. You then announce to the toy that it is gonna be it, and then you have to go and hide. For some reason, it's important that you hide with a glass of salt water, and if you feel scared, put some of that in your mouth. When the game is over and the toy hasn't found you in an hour, fingers crossed, you go back, spit the salt water on the toy and burn it. Bye, Ted! Honestly, it all sounds like a lot of hassle to me. Ah yes, at number 9, we have a classic. It's the Ouija board. Tale as old as time, right? Do you guys even need me to explain this one? Can we just move on to number 8? No? I have to say the words?
Okay then. An Ouija board is a board with printed letters, numbers and signs, plus the words yes, no, good and bye. It is used to summon spirits and communicate with them. Famously, bad spirits have indeed been summoned. Interestingly, you can actually buy an Ouija board in a lot of mainstream game shops. Why buy one when you could make one yourself? Coming into number 8, we have Charlie Charlie. Charlie Charlie is a game, I guess, a bit like the Ouija board, but it's way more DIY. A person balances pencils on top of one another with no and yes written in squares. Charlie Charlie can't be used to summon any demon though. It seems that the infamous Charlie is the only one that will appear. And again, I'm not sure you want to meet him. Players of the game say something like, Charlie Charlie, are you here? And then the pencil moves and teenagers freak out on YouTube. That's the trend. So why do the pencils move? Clearly because a demon has been summoned, not because of friction and gravity. Demon. Coming in at number 7, we have the living doll. Do you know what? I really don't like a creepy doll. I don't. In fact, I feel like you shouldn't have dolls over the age of 10. Just get rid of them because they'll probably haunt you. They pop up everywhere and they're always causing paranormal havoc. Get those dolls out. So Living Doll is like a cocktail of paranormal game fusion. It's got a lot of scary game tropes, candlesticks, mirrors, hiding, a doll. So here you're supposed to put a doll and a candle between two mirrors and say a little incantation. You then blow out the flame and wait for the doll to come and find you. If it finds you, then bad news bears. You're supposed to hide for around an hour and try not to get found. If you remain unfound, then good. Congratulations, you survive. You then return to the doll, which may have moved, pour salt on it and put it in a cupboard overnight. That ought to do it. Coming into number 6, we have Midnight Man. Midnight Man is a modern rehashing of an old pagan ritual and is essentially a game to summon a spirit. I feel like all of these games summon spirits, you know. To play, you write your name on a piece of paper. You have to prick your finger and produce a small drop of blood and put it on the paper. You then light a candle and then you tape the paper with your name on it to a wooden door. It has to be wooden, apparently, so. Timing is very important here. You have to then knock on the door 22 times, with the last knock coming exactly at the stroke of midnight. You then open the door, blow out the candle, close the door, relight the candle. To me, it's all a big faff. This apparently means that the Midnight Man is now in your house. Your job is to avoid being caught by the Midnight Man, who will try and scare you until 3:33 AM. No more, no less. Honestly, I'd much rather just be in bed having a good sleep. It sounds like way too much aggro. Whatever you do, don't say his name 5 times unless you want to play the game, in which case, go ahead. That's right guys, at number 5 we have Candyman. Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. Actually, do you know what? I think I'll stop there. The Candyman is allegedly a murder victim with a hook for a hand, like Captain Hook, one of my favourite characters ever. He's mean. If you say Candyman's name 5 times, then you will summon him. The only issue, aside from summoning a demon, is, you know, he's angry. He probably wants you to die. There is a movie made about it. Have you seen it? Let me know. Coming into number 4, we have the Devil's Dog. Yet another summoning game, although this one doesn't require a mirror. Shocker. If calling forth the Hounds of Hell is high up on your to-do list, then you'll be pleased to know it's actually pretty easy. All you have to do is close your eyes, although allegedly the game works best in a group of 4 with one person in the middle. Alone or together, you close your eyes and hunch into a little ball and say, Devil's Dog, Devil's Dog, Satan bring me Devil's Dog, over and over again until you feel scratch marks on your back. You'll likely even see them. This way you'll know that you've been marked by the Hellhounds. Apparently they'll provide you with protection, but you'll also be cursed, so, you know, again, tea and Catan? Anyone? Coming into number 3, we have Mirror Tunnels. Mirror Tunnels is a classic parallel universe game. For this one, you're supposed to set up 2 very big mirrors facing one another, and then you physically stand in the middle. You stand looking in the mirror and count how many frames you can see over your shoulder in your reflection, like mirror after mirror after mirror after mirror, kind of like that bit in Black Swan. It's actually honestly probably enough to send you mad. So you were supposed to look out for movement in the frames. You should be standing still, but one of your reflections might move in another dimension. Honestly, to me it's all a bit mind-bending, but basically, so it goes. One version of you in a different dimension may bring something bad to your current dimension. Do you know what? I've gone cross-eyed. I feel like we need to move on. It's too much. Although I will say, in every world in which you exist, are you always going to be good? Honestly, probably better just to leave this one alone. Okay, this is another scary game that comes from Japan, and to me that makes it a little bit scarier. We have the bath game. Also known as Daruma-san, the bath game involves summoning a grotesque ghost, and then you gotta stop it from catching you. Again, I'm sensing a theme here. This is like very normal for paranormal games, right? Honestly, summoning a demon in the bath isn't my kind of party. I'd rather have a candle and a glass of wine and a good book, but whatever floats your boat. It seems that this game involves taking a bath at night in the dark and sitting facing the taps. You're supposed to wash your hair and then repeat the words "Daruma-san fell down" over and over again. You've got to keep your eyes shut, but you'll feel a presence in the bath with you. When you feel the presence, you should ask, why did you fall in the bath? When you feel like the presence finally leaves you, you've got to get out of the bath, but leave the water where it is, don't drain it. The next morning is when the game begins. The ghost of Daruma will follow you. She'll get closer as the day goes on, but you cannot let her catch you. When you see her over your shoulder, you must shout "Kita," which means I cut you loose, and then perform a karate chop. Kita! I mean, that sounds fun, but honestly, the whole thing sounds pretty pointless. Why spend a day escaping a demon when you could just, be having a good day? Pray for devils have no reason. Satan waits to curse your ways. Have you seen it in his eyes in the sunset? Have you wonder if he's laughing when he plays? That's right, coming into number 1 we have the Devil's Game. Great! So I found that terrifying description on a game listed on creepypasta.com, and it seems that the game has a 9.1 out of 10 rating from over 5,000 votes, so it must be scary. The game allegedly allows you to speak with the devil, and if you do it right, I quote, there's a fair chance you'll walk away scot-free. Good. The purpose of the game is not to make a deal with the devil, but just to ask him things. What type of things? Well, the post reads that he could very well be able to predict the winning numbers of tomorrow's Powerball, for example, or tell you what deadly undiagnosed condition might be afflicting one of your loved ones. How do you play? Well, the creepypasta says that the demon can be summoned at a church at midnight, but it works even better on a new moon, full moon, Friday the 13th, Halloween, etc. You will, you guessed it, need salt, 7 white or red candles, some matches, red string, a mirror. You cannot bring any electronic devices into the room, as apparently that is not something that the devil is okay with. Apparently all you have to do is light the candles and stare into the mirror and will the devil to come. When he appears, one is supposed to challenge him to a game of question and response. The best way to get a truthful answer from him, according to the creepypasta, is to accept a dare from him. Now I don't know about you, but I will not be doing any dares set to me by the devil.